Hey guys, it's Spark, and for this video I will be teaching you guys how to properly combo in Koei Warriors games. I am aware that these games are mostly known for its button mashing nature, but there are deep systems in these games that allow for, in my opinion at least, a more enjoyable experience. If you look at the history of Koei Tecmo, Dynasty Warriors originally was a fighting game, so I think it's important to know that before we get into everything I'm going to share with you in this video. Most of what I'm sharing with you applies to even older Warriors games, such as Dynasty Warriors 5 and Samurai Warriors 2. So yeah, let's get right into it. Previously, I said that Dynasty Warriors was originally a fighting game. In Warriors games, every character has a launcher. This would be charge 2, or square triangle. This puts the enemy in a flying state in which other attacks can be done afterwards. This would then put the enemy in a juggle state. In this state, the enemy maintains airtime whilst taking damage, much like a fighting game. Pressing square will always juggle the enemy afterwards. Doing a double launcher will cause a failed juggle state and will allow the enemy to flip out of your combos and land on their feet. An example of that would be square, triangle, square, triangle. So always try to learn what are considered launchers and combo accordingly. Now for the older Warriors titles, like Samurai Warriors 2, I like to do something called stagger combos. This is when after a launcher or a stun state, you follow up by never completing the combo. You then delay and then restart the combo. When timed correctly, the enemy will stay juggled and you will essentially be doing an infinite. Do keep in mind when I mentioned stun state, this is usually when you press square, square, triangle. Do not, and I repeat, do not do a launcher afterwards. The juggle state will usually fail. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what I call a hard knockdown state. I've taken this idea from fighting games as well. In a hard knockdown state, the time it takes for the enemy to get back on their feet is delayed, and this can be advantageous for the player. An example would be Jugadon's Charge 5. It forces the enemies in a hard knockdown state. When in this state, the combo is not over yet, so look into different ways to get the enemy back up for continuous comboing. Some ways to do this would be a jump charge with some characters in Dynasty Warriors 7 and 8, or switching with certain weapons. In Warriors Orochi 3 and 4, there are many ways to capitalize on hard knockdown states as well. Other things I want to note is some jump normals causes the juggle state to fail, such as Lu Xun's in Dynasty Warriors 8. Let's talk a little bit about Musou follow-ups. Now when I mention this, I'm talking about Dynasty Warriors 8, Dynasty Warriors 7, Warriors Orochi 3, and Warriors Orochi 4. As in these games, they are more viable. When juggling, you can mix in a Musou to spice things up. A famous example of this is Zhou Yun's Musou 1, as right after it, you can continue comboing. Another example would be Lu Xun's Musou 1 and Jotai's Musou 1. Next, let's talk about elemental applications. First, let's start off with Thunder. When it activates, it causes the enemy to be stunned. This is pretty good for many reasons. 1, you get a free juggle state. 2, it packs a bit of a punch, so when it activates, you chunk the enemy down for a portion of their health, which is less important when juggling, but it does save you from juggling the enemy for 100 years. And 3, it does decent CC, so when it activates, it hits enemies around you. Now, let's talk about Ice. Ice is a hard stun state that prevents the enemy from attacking you. They are essentially a piñata. When in this state, the combo is still considered prime, so go crazy. I should also mention though, while frozen, enemies can be put into a grapple state, such as Manchao's Charge 2 and Dong Ai's Musou 2. That's all I really wanted to go over in this video. I do encourage you to experiment and come up with creative combos, as these games should get a bit more praise for how flashy the combat is. And yes, while they are simplistic as far as formula goes, they still have untapped potential and incredible replay value if you love what I mentioned throughout this video. With that being said, I'm FumaSpark. of the Fuma clan, signing off.